And we're back here, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. 215-204-9449 is our number. Growing up as a Met fan, I know a lot of Philly fans won't be appreciative of that. One of my favorite baseball players growing up as a kid was Cliff Floyd. At number 30, he would always hit the ball deep off that Budweiser scoreboard out at Shea Stadium. Now he's doing a fantastic job with the MLB Network, and the former Slugger joins us right now. Cliff, it's Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. Thanks for coming on today. How are you?
No problem. Good. How you doing, fellas?
Well, we're doing great, and you played in a few league championship series. What are those emotions like as a player as you're only 3 or 4 wins away from getting to a World Series?
Well, extremely high. I don't know if there's necessarily a lot of pressure. I think when you look at this situation now, it's basically going off your instincts and allowing yourself to, put yourself in a position where you can be productive and help your team. And I think that's where, when you get to this point, it's about having fun and, it's a lot of things that come into play, but you try to eliminate, the mistakes and do a little thing that's going to help you win a ball game.
Now, these Red Sox bats, they were dead up until that 7th or 8th inning when Big Papi went yard on the grand salami. Can this grand slam maybe pick up the momentum on the Red Sox bats? Because they've been struggling so far in this series.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you always looking for a little niche, a little opportunity to open that door. And once that door opens, it allows you to, have that mindset that we can do this. And Boston team has been a resilient team the whole season. Nobody expects them to be in the position they're in right now. So why change anything now? I think when you look at what's happened the last couple of days, you're going to run into good pitching. You're always going to run into the 1s and 2s at this time of year. You have to be able to manufacture some runs. They weren't able to do that. They was able to stick around thanks to the bullpen the other night and pulled out a victory, a much-needed one, as you go against Verlander tonight.
Cliff, Chase Sr., thanks for hopping on with us. Verlander and John Lackey take the hill tonight for the Red Sox and Tigers this afternoon, rather. Lackey, after a couple of disappointing years after coming over from Anaheim, came back with a rebound year this season. And Verlander struggled at times this year, but in the month of September and October, he's been brilliant. How do you see things playing out tonight? It's a great matchup and a series that I think could go 7 games.
Yeah, I think when you look at what Verlander's been able to do, I think the big thing with him is, I guess a lot of people question, where he was this year. His fastball velocity was down. I even questioned it at times throughout the season. But he's the smartest one out of them all. He knows exactly what he's capable of doing. I mean, you've seen it throughout the playoffs. Hasn't given up a run. It's been just flat out brilliant throughout the whole postseason. And when you have a guy like Verlander on the mound, you feel very comfortable from a Tiger standpoint. I know they wish they were up 2-0. But, you're at home. You have Verlander at home where he's comfortable. It's going to be a tough task for the Boston Red Sox, guys tonight. But anything can happen. And we've seen that a lot already this postseason. You just got to play your game and hope that he makes some mistakes.
Sticking with the Tigers, Max Scherzer had an absolutely fantastic year. He's able to throw that tailing fastball in the mid to high 90s and also has a deadly changeup to mix in with that fastball. He wins 20-plus games this year and has a career year. How is it that some of these pitchers, it just clicks for them sometimes and they go from being a decent 3-4 guy in the rotation to being a bona fide number 1 or 2 starter?
I think, for me, it's all about confidence. It's all about believing in the pitches that you have and how to execute. It's about, where location of your pitches are. If you're middle of the plate with mistakes, you're going to get hurt. That's just the name of the game. You can't hang anything in this game and get away with it. It's just too good of a hitters these days. But, when you look at Max, that definitely has a luxury, the offense in Detroit. But that's, there. I mean, the guy has great stuff. He goes out there and competes every time he's on the mound. And when you have overpowering stuff as he has, it allows you to go out there and say, hey, if I give up 1 or 2 runs here, it's not a big deal. Stay within myself. Allow yourself to stay in the moment. And when you get consistent like that, it's hard to beat guys who are consistently mentally strong in this game.
Cliff Floyd joins us on the hotline, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. Cliff's now working with the MLB Network. And Cliff, let's go to the NLCS right now. This is a series that's at 2-1. The Cardinals lead. The Dodgers were desperate for a win last night. And Puig finally gets out of that slump and comes up with that big triple, which he initially thought was a home run. What has impressed you so far with Puig? Because I look at him, and he's great for the game of baseball.
Yeah, I think the one thing, he's athletic. Athleticism is not something that he's short of. I think the one thing that you worry about with him is getting too excited, getting too anxious, go out there and try to do things he's not capable of doing. And I think the one mistake last night by Waino is the fact that, you've been getting him with the swinging and all this stuff all over the place, and you throw him a fastball away. Maybe he was trying to hit that spot or not. I don't know. But I would not have thrown him a fastball away in that situation. You just sort of lock him back in. I'm not necessarily saying you're waking up a sleeping giant. I'm just saying, when you have a guy down on the ropes, as you had Puig, throughout the first couple games, you kind of want to stick with the MO you've been going. So I think the impressive thing with him is he's going to keep fighting. He's going to keep coming at you with the same thing every single day. He's going to swing the bat, and I think the big key, the last key, is getting Hanley Ramirez back in the lineup. I mean, you can't say enough of what he's done for that Dodgers squad this year.
And Ramirez now actually has a rib injury. Do you expect him to play for the rest of the series?
Oh, yeah, unless he get hit again or dives on it at shortstop or does something where, it's going to put him in a position where he can't go out there and do the things he did last night. Productive at bat, came through with a big, sac fly to get the hits. Because the hits are good. He got a couple of knocks. He threw those in there, RBI knock late in the game to make it 3-0. But the sac fly was a key at bat. That's where you see him let go of that bat. He hurt himself a little bit, but whether he's heavily medicated or whatever, he's out there playing, and that's all that matters.
Cliff, obviously the big story coming away from Game 3 is that the Dodgers come back and put the series to 2-1. Also, it is the story of Yasiel Puig. He hit that ball to right field and milked it a little bit, raising his arms, and then really chugged it going from first to third. A little bit of a celebration that went overboard, and Carlos Beltran voices displeasure after the game. But when you look at that play, if Beltran is able to play that ball off the wall, he has a chance to throw Puig out at second or third, which would have made Puig, look pretty bad on that play. Do you think that he overreacted a little bit? And I know some of the old baseball folk think that Puig's theatrics are just a little too far right now.
Yeah, listen, everybody comments at this time of year. I don't necessarily question people's opinions. Beltran's been around this game for a long time. He played the game the right way. The whole time I've seen him, I saw him in New York. So I'm not going to question what he feels. He believes that Puig needs to settle down. I think his comments actually are pretty valid because he definitely doesn't know, how to act right now. I mean, he's been given everything you could possibly give in this 22-year-old. He's playing in L.A. He's doing great. I mean, he was Hall of Famer in the first month of the season. So it's where we put him up on the pedestal. I think when you look at what Puig has done, He's taken his Dodgers team and put him on his back and put him in this position. I know he pimps everything and he looks a little crazy, but I don't necessarily know if you want to tame that. If you want to put him in a position where, you sort of cage him and say, hey, we're going to break you down. Do you want him to learn? Of course. You don't want him to get hurt. And pitchers are going to get tired of it. But at the end of the day, this is who he is. And, if you just go out there and do your job, then guess what? You won't be celebrated.
The Cardinals, they're just such a remarkable story to me. 2 years ago, they lose Albert Pujols. La Russa retires after they win that World Series. And this is just a group that always keeps on plugging away. They beat your New York Mets in 2006 to get to a World Series. Why are the Cardinals each year, they're able to lose some players in the free agency market, some big-time players, but they're always in it in this time of the month?
I can chalk it up to the four-leaf clover over their head. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, they have pitching. They have, some of the best quality youngsters with the bats in their hands that we've seen in a long time. I mean, they're missing a stud in Alan Craig, who sort of hampered that lineup a little bit because, you're talking about a guy that hit 420 plus, with runners in scoring position, missing your lineup. That definitely hurts you. But for me, it's all about, what they do as a group. The pitchers stick together. They got one of the best cheerleaders in the game because unfortunately he can't pitch, and Chris Carpenter in their ear. And as hitters, they've been through this before. David Freed, John Jay, Alan Craig, all these guys have been in a position where they was, put out there to I don't know, not necessarily fail, but tough situations in the World Series because they was, they had to play. And then they won. So all these things, in my mind, attribute to them going out and saying, hey, this is no pressure. We was in this position last year where we lost we was up 3-1 on the Giants and let that slip away. They've been there before, and I think that helps them tremendously at this time of year.
Cliff, a great part about October baseball is that you see the greatest teams, players, and pitchers on display. And what I've seen out of some of these starting pitchers has been magnificent so far. You talk about John Lester, Zach Greinke, Clayton Kershaw. We mentioned Scherzer and Verlander, and Wainwright, what he's done so far this postseason has been great as well. When you look back at your playing career, you got to face a couple of these guys, but who was the toughest pitcher that you faced as a starter or as a reliever?
Man, I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone because I face them as both, and that was John Smoltz, as a starter and a closer. These guys don't come around too often where they stuck in your mind for as guys who can just change the game anytime they want, and you see it today from a handful of guys, and I think you're starting to see pitchers more and more today understand the big facet of the game. Is going out and giving your team a chance to win, not trying to strike out everybody, but be productive in that category of the W column, which is getting W's on the board throughout the season. Guys getting on board with that as opposed to trying to be the individual superstar Hall of Famer. And you're seeing more teams have 1, 2, 3 punches as opposed to just 1 or 1, 2.
Cliff Floyd joins us on the hotline. Cliff, a few more questions right before we let you run. So far, this Cardinals series, it has been all pitching. The most one team has scored has been 3 runs in one game. Do you continue to see this be another big-time pitching matchup coming up tonight, or do you see the bats start to wake up a little bit?
I think the bats will wake up a little bit. But, again, guys, these series are set up where, you have, I'm not saying unsung heroes, but pitchers that not necessarily. Anibal Sanchez, listen, he ERA winner throughout the season. He's not going to give up 3, 4 runs. Verlander has found his velo, has been pitching, backwards at times throughout the playoffs, throwing his curveball, changeup first, and then come back with 95, 96. These guys are Cy Young winners. You're getting 1s and 2s at the time of year. You're not going to see 7, 8 runs on the board unless guys flat out are just not, having the stuff that they're capable of having. And that's why I think you're going to see 3-1, 2-1 games that's going, not no-hitter type stuff we've seen from the Red Sox hitters, but, games where you're going 4 and 5 innings without a run and playing good defense because that's what these teams do. They know the importance of going out and keeping that other team off the board because 1 run can be the difference in some of these games, and we've seen that.
Cliff, all 4 teams in the League Championship Series are very evenly matched when you look at the rosters from top to bottom. Who do you like coming out of the AL and NL and making it to the World Series and winning it all?
Well, I was definitely leaning towards, Detroit into the 8th inning the other night, and so I'm really stumped on the AL because I'm anxious to see, how Lackey pitches tonight. I'm anxious to see how Verlander, handles. The loss that they had the other night. So that's going to be a tough one. I still believe I still believe Detroit comes out of there because of the home field advantage. I really like that. And the pitches that they're throwing out there. And then, from the NL standpoint, it was a huge win for the Dodgers last night. I thought they got back in the series even though they're down 2-1. This series, in my mind, feels like it's 2-2. If they win tomorrow, I think then you're looking at a Dodgers team that feels that they can go for the kill.
Cliff, final one here right before we let you run is Cliff Floyd joins us on the hotline, main event. Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. here with you. I have to bring up a story because you and I actually go way back when I was in the 6th grade before I came to college here at Temple University, and one of my friends actually had cancer, and it was at the Mets WFAN Caravan, and you and D. Wright actually just left the event. You were there for the time that you needed to be, and you were going to the Knicks game, and someone from Mets PR, it may have been Jay Horowitz because my friend just came out of the hospital, came into the event went late, and he called you guys up, and you guys missed the first quarter of that Knicks game, and you came back, and you spent about an hour and a half with us, and you brought along Traxel, Tom Glavine, and Chris Woodward. So I know I've talked about this to you in the past, but we never had you on the air since this is the first time you're joining us on our show. So I really just want to say thank you to you, because what you, Traxel, Glavine, Woody, and D. Wright did that day was really remarkable to my friend who was going through a tough time. So I really appreciate what you did when I was back in sixth grade, Cliff.
Oh, no doubt, man. That's what we do. We try to put smiles on people's faces. It don't have to be, 10-year-old. You know what I mean? We can be a little older than that. So it's all good. So I'm glad we was able to make that happen and make a great night out of it.
Now, Cliff, right before we let you run, are you thinking about a possible comeback? Because the Mets could definitely use your bats as of late.
No, it's a wrap. It's all over. I really enjoy what I'm doing right now. I think the big thing for me is, when you see these guys today, it's really fun to watch because, you sort of put yourself in the game. But, it's also times of change, man. And I think, to be able to say that I played this game for as long as I played, it just puts a smile on my face to know that it's a challenge every day, but I enjoy it every minute. And right now, to be able to do the MLB Network and to be able to, be on the shows like this and be able to talk, what I know about the game, it just brings joy to me. So I'm proud of that.
Well, Cliff, best of luck. We appreciate a few minutes today. Enjoy the rest of the MLB playoffs, and let's talk to you again down the road.
No doubt. Thanks, fellas.
Cliff Floyd right there, former New York Met, won a World Series with the Marlins back in '97 on the hotline right there. Main event, Zach Gelb, Chase Sr. here with you. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after these short messages.